Welcome everybody to another episode of College Juice. Finally on the For Frequency Sake Network. Your boy Steve with my partner in picks, Kev. What's going on, Kev?
Not a whole lot, man. We're there. It's here.
It's here.
College
We're down to
football is here.
single digit days. College football on Saturday. I'm excited. So many just new things are dropping. News is coming out left and right. We're finding out starting quarterbacks. Today, I saw a funny quote from Hugh Freeze, head coach of Auburn, when asked about who is going to be the starting quarterback and if there's a possibility of all three quarterbacks playing against Baylor. All he answered back was with yes. So, very vague answer,
Yeah.
but here we are. He's going to play three quarterbacks. Is he signaling that they're gonna like blow out Baylor? They're gonna handle biz, be able to play all three of these guys? Because I would be kind of like, really, man, like this is a big game, and you're gonna play all three quarterbacks. This is not You're not playing San Diego State. You're not playing one of these FCS schools or FBS schools. You're playing against a Power Four conference team like Baylor.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a ploy to try to throw Baylor off their game of who to prepare for. I mean, is Deuce Knight the freshman? Is that the third one?
Depth chart.
I know Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels, but
Deuce Knight is the freshman. They have him third on the depth chart. So we're gonna see
okay.
Jackson Arnold, Ashton Daniels, and Deuce Knight sometime during
Yeah.
the game.
I mean, maybe it's also like he uses them in certain situations, which I never really liked. I feel like that your quarterback doesn't get in a rhythm, especially the main quarterback who you want making most of your plays. I mean, because Deuce Knight's a fairly big dude. I mean, tall, I guess, more than size wise, but like maybe they roll him out, and I don't really know how fast he is, but maybe they roll him out in like a special wildcat package where Jackson Arnold throws him the ball as a wide receiver and then he throws something down. I don't know. Like maybe that's all he means. If he's treating this like an NFL preseason game, I don't think that it's going to work out very well for them unless he's just that confident in his defense that they're going to shut Baylor down. But like I just don't I really honestly don't see him going, okay, Jackson Arnold, you get the first quarter. All right, Ashton Daniels, it's your time. All right, Deuce Knight, it's your time in the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, he goes, all right, whichever one of you played better, you get the fourth quarter.
Right.
I don't see that. I mean, I think maybe just Jackson Arnold hasn't shown enough in spring and practice leading up to this game for him to have won over the starting position. But I feel like it was his position to lose.
Right.
And maybe that also plays a part in this, is that he didn't show enough during the spring game and spring practice and practices leading up to now
Right.
that Hugh Freeze feels comfortable with him. I mean, obviously Ashton Daniels wasn't great last year, but he played for Stanford, who, this is a different – the offensive line's better here at Auburn. Defense is better here at Auburn, so not quite as much as he has to put on his shoulders, but it's not like he was necessarily a great thrower of the ball. And then with any freshman, you don't really know what you're going to get until you start playing them.
Right.
I don't know. I think maybe it's a ploy more than anything else, but I don't know if Hugh Freeze is that thinks about that stuff methodically enough to for it to be
I
a
don't know. Yeah,
ploy. But
I know Hugh Freeze is a dirtbag. That's as far as I know about Hugh Freeze. But it's yeah, I think maybe it's a ploy. He's trying to throw him off. Just like you said, all his answer was yes. So I mean, and the reporter asked, "Is it a possibility?" So yes, there's a possibility. Anytime you play a football game, that you're gonna have to go to a backup. Somebody gets hurt, guy plays like trash. It's all kinds of reasons. So
yeah,
not naming a starting quarterback, is kind of interesting, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's a ploy, just kind of throw off everything.
I just
Um,
I mean,
Deuce
Daniels just isn't like a guy. Like I guess how I would relate this comment would be, okay, he's going to try to pull Sean Payton, with the Taysom Hill and have his quarterback be an H back. And I guess I could see Deuce Knight doing that just because of his height and size. But I don't really see anything where you can do Ashton Daniels like that. And obviously, we know Jackson Darnold is fully capable of like being a dual threat quarterback. So, but again, to me, I think my thought of this is clearly he doesn't like what he's seen out of Jackson Arnold for him to say a comment like that. But anyway,
Another quarterback that was named starter was Cal, who named true freshman. He sometimes a true
I
freshman,
saw
Oregon
that.
transfer, Jerron Kui. I don't want to pronounce his last name. Sagapolutella, Telly, whatever. Um, over Devin Brown, who formerly at Ohio State. So they went with the true freshman. Interesting situation over Cal. I mean, he's a good coach, so I'm kind of curious what they saw in spring that separated them. But I mean, something different. I don't know too much about this guy. I just thought it was interesting that he went with a true freshman over
Yeah,
Devin Brown.
yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily hate it. When you brought this up to me, I kind of went to Cal's schedule, and their schedule's honestly not that difficult. Like they're at Oregon State week 1, a week from this coming Saturday. Then they have Texas Southern. Then they're at home against Minnesota. Now I really like Minnesota, but Minnesota has to travel. Then you get at San Diego State, but then you have to travel to Boston College. That'll be a difficult game just because of the travel, but Boston College isn't that great of a team. And then you're at home against the Carolinas, Duke and North Carolina. Like, overall, so maybe that's how it is. Is hey, we have a pretty easy schedule. Why not? Let's see what the freshman can do right off the bat. And if he doesn't play well, maybe in those first 3 or 4 games, then at the start of conference play, when you go up to Boston College in week 5, then you put Devin Brown in if he hasn't. Because, I don't think Devin Brown's played that much in his career so far, but he at least kind of gets the ins and outs of college football and understands, like, oh, hey, I still have to be the next man up. I got to be prepared. Where a freshman may sometimes look past that, right? And
Yeah,
might not take practices as seriously if he's the backup, may not think he's ever going to get a shot this year. Whereas a junior or a senior understands that, hey, anything could happen. I could be put into this game.
right,
So that might play a role in it too. But I do like giving him an opportunity right off the bat, like I said, especially with their schedule being, in my opinion, a little weaker than a lot of others.
right. And then some news out of Ohio State. Ohio State has named Julian Sand as their starting quarterback. He's going to make his first start against the University of Texas. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, he's surrounded with tons of talent, so it's not necessarily going to be all on him to make the huge plays. He's got one of the best wide receivers and probably best college football player in the country right now on his team. So where are you seeing this now? I mean, as far as what I've seen Julian saying can do any tape or anything, I mean, it's minimal. So I don't know what to expect outside of watching people play and use Ohio State on College Football 26.
Do you have their depth chart up by chance? Who's considered
I
the backup?
I can get that for you.
I don't know if it was one of the freshmen or if it's. I mean, I don't really know any of the
So
upperclassmen.
behind him is Lincoln Kindholtz,
Yeah,
redshirt sophomore,
okay.
and then Tavian St. Clair, who's a true
Yeah,
freshman.
the true freshman. Yeah, I know he's supposed to be really good, but obviously, as I said before, we never really know what we're going to get out of freshmen. Just because you're good in high school doesn't mean that's necessarily going to pan over to college, and same thing with college to the pros. And like you said, I don't know what game Julian Saint even played in last year, or if he played in multiple games, but I know he didn't have a ton of attempts. I think it was something like 12 or 15. So he didn't play much. As you said, I think you almost have to treat him like a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't really know what he's going to get. He was highly recruited, obviously, and they think this is their guy. They've seen enough out of him in spring ball and practices leading up to this first game. And as you said, they have a ton of talent elsewhere. Arguably the best wide receiver in college football. Their running back room, even despite losing the two guys they did, is still pretty solid.
Yeah, James Peoples and CJ Donaldson from West Virginia.
Yeah, and then even like not even thinking about Jeremiah Smith. Brandon Ennis is supposed to be pretty good. Um, Carnell Tate, I think as long as he stays healthy, should be a good little spot for them as well. I don't know who their starting tight end is, but they
Matt
tend
Clare.
they tend to have pretty good tight ends. Their O line is usually pretty good. Just look at the drafts year after year. They usually have a guy taken in the first round or the second round, and then obviously they have arguably the best player on defense with Caleb Downs. So, against any team they're playing against, he's arguably the best defensive player on the field. So, they have the talent. Obviously, all the sports books think that they're the favorite because Texas is plus money in that game. Or not plus money, excuse me. They're sitting points, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of how to describe it now.
It's late right now.
They're not laying. They're not
plus
laying points
currently.
Yeah,
They're getting points.
Getting points. There you go. Thank you. So yeah, which is the first time that a number one overall seed has been given points or getting points on their first game of the year. So it ought to be interesting. As far as that game specifically, I think what Texas needs to do is maybe just employ remember the Titans for hopefully people have seen that, or a lot of people who listen to us have seen that, and just blitz all night. Put as much pressure on Julian as you can. Don't allow guys like Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Ennis to get time to get open and see what he can do. Texas has the guys who can do that, on the defensive line and in their linebacker core. That's what I would do personally. See what he can do.
Anthony Hill Jr., Colin Simons, Ethan, it's Michael Taft back there, straight soul. It's gonna be an interesting game. What Tech does.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of teams that can run like a man coverage against Ohio State, especially when you got Jeremiah Smith. But I do think Texas is one of those teams that not again, they're not going to blitz all night, but just, I think they should blitz a lot. I think they have the defensive backs to be able to kind of put pressure on those wide receivers. And like I said, let's see what he can do. But it would be interesting for sure. He's not the only Big Ten quarterback who we haven't seen play, right? Michigan's throwing out their true freshman Bryce Underwood. Indiana's going with Mendoza, right? Obviously we have some guys we've seen before like Drew Aller and Luke Altmaier, but there's also a lot of new faces at the quarterback position in the Big Ten. So Oregon's, what they announced Dante Moore, didn't they, I think? It's like we got a bunch of guys who we don't really know a whole lot about. Be interesting to see how they do in the first couple games.
Yeah, so those are some of the notable starters. I mean, we already kind of expected that Joey Aguilar will be named the starter at Tennessee after
Yeah.
transferring there. No surprise there. Um, Syracuse names Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli
Yeah.
to their starting position. Um, and then Notre Dame announced CJ Carr as their starting quarterback. Their quarterback situation is interesting. Going to keep my eye on that because it wasn't kind of clear who was going to be the starter at Notre Dame. So
Yeah.
we saw how well they did when they had an established quarterback under center last year.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest question mark for Notre Dame is the quarterback position. If they play decent, they'll be in a great spot. They have a nice schedule this year. Potentially could go undefeated. But yeah, it's going to hinge on how well CJ Carr ends up playing. So excited
Yeah.
to see that. Excited to see that. And as far as news goes, I mean, I know Cam Newton's numbers being retired. Cool. That's great for Auburn. I heard something crazy about Auburn today about with different changes to the rules for like national championships, they've gained like 3 additional
Yeah. I
championships.
saw that too. They've claimed digital championships.
So it's kind of funny seeing that. I think they claimed that one when who was their starting quarterback? Played for the Redskins, Jason Campbell.
Campbell.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think that was one of the years,
Yeah.
right?
Because back before there was like a BCS system or now a playoff, it was really mainly determined by like the polls, like AP poll and coaches poll, and
Yeah,
a lot of
and
times there
a
would be
computer
different.
system.
Yeah, there'd be different teams at the top of those polls at the end of the year. So, um, and also like back then, they didn't just pair up, 1 versus 2. It was the Rose Bowl was the Big Ten winner versus the Pac-12, and the Orange Bowl was the ACC versus now I can't remember who, but it wasn't so. So because of the way those bowls went and the respective conferences they had, we hardly ever see 1 versus 2. So we never got a clear picture of actually who was the best team.
Right.
But that's changed for the better, and soon we're going to be adding more teams to the college football playoff.
Right. 48 teams. 48.
Yeah. I think eventually it'll probably get up there, but
That'll be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But guys, we're finally here. We're gonna have the Don Corleone joining us in a little bit here, but we're gonna go ahead and get into these 5 games on Saturday that we're gonna start, and we're gonna kick it off with UNLV versus Idaho State. Almost said San Diego State. I had to double check myself. Idaho State against UNLV. UNLV is favored by 25.5 points. To be honest with you, I mean, you don't take UNLV on a money line because it's like more minus 4,000. You try to attack this game. Do you trust them to score and beat Idaho State by more than 25.5 points?
I don't personally. It's a new era for UNLV. Dan Mullen's now the coach there. This will be his first game under them. I mean, I think they win. I just don't see them winning by basically 4 touchdowns. I think they probably win by, somewhere in between 17 and 21. They also have Michigan transfer Alex Origi as their quarterback, who, if he figured out how to throw, UNLV's not really going to have much of a passing game. Now, again, I don't think they're going to need it to win by 17 to 21. I think they'll be too strong with the run game. And Idaho State lost a bunch of their offensive weapons. So, UNLV, I don't think will struggle that much on the defensive side. I don't trust Alex Origi in their pass offense to be able to just consistently put up points. Now they should still be a relatively quick team, just like they were last year under their old coach. But to me, I don't see it right now. I don't see them winning by, like I said, basically 4+ touchdowns. So I have Idaho State plus 25.5 at -110.
Joining us right now is the famous Don Corleone. What's going on, Don? Glad for you to join us.
What's going on, fellas?
Fresh from practice, getting them kids ready for the game, locked in, focused. Right now, we started soft, man. We went to Idaho State, UNLV, just kind of, padded before you got in a little bit. UNLV's favored by 25.5. You don't have to spend too much time on this.
Did you take the over?
On the total?
Yeah.
That was something I was looking at. Total right now for that game.
64.5.
64.5. It opened at 62. It's already gone up 2 points. UNLV should just bully these guys. To be honest with you, it shouldn't be close. I think Alex Orji in this spot.
Is it officially Alex Orji? Because I thought it was Anthony Calandria.
I'm
the article I read showing Orji.
Our lads, they have Alex as the starting quarterback. But I mean, if it was Anthony Calandria, I actually would like that better for them. Got to see him during his time at UVA. I trust him throwing the ball more than Alex.
So yeah, I mean, I obviously think Anthony Calandria is the better quarterback, but I think there's a chance that they might go double quarterback first game.
I can see that. Have a little package where Alex just keeps it on the ground and just tries to truck over people. Absolutely. He's got the body type. Go ahead.
I just think that knowing where everything is, looking at like if you look at the script and stuff like that for this UNLV team, I think there's a chance that they just overpower Idaho State early. I think this has like a 46-20 potential. And then when you look over at Betalytics, it actually has a 5-star for the over in that matchup. So I will gladly take over as like a play I just give out on the pod. And there's a chance I might sweat it. But just that would be the only thing I would take out of this.
The only thing I'm scared for taking that total is that UNLV just kind of shuts Idaho State down from being able to like move the ball. That's the only thing. I think UNLV will put up points. I'm just worried it will they give up a few touchdowns to get it over that number. All right, so we're gonna hop into the big games here. We're gonna start with the official big time game at 12 o'clock in Dublin, Ireland. We have Iowa State versus Kansas State. Kansas State is favored by 3 points. We'll kick it off to you, Don. I know you're big on Kansas State this year, and I'm right with you on that.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big things I'm looking at here is I'm looking at last year's matchup. If you look at last year's matchup, Rocco Becht out of Iowa State did not look good. 13 for 35, 137 passing yards. He had 3 total touchdowns, which definitely changed the complexity of that game. And I just think that this is a big year for Avery Johnson incoming. I think the way that they match up, I just don't think that Iowa State's going to be able to stop that rushing attack between Avery Johnson and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Dylan Edwards.
I don't know why Dylan Sampson came in my head. Like that's where my mind is at right now. Dylan Edwards and Avery Johnson are going to be a good 1-2 duo. And Iowa State's defense. So when you look at the return production you just immediately go, oh, wow, I see that there. Wow, that looks really good. Wow, I think Iowa State's bringing back a ton of guys. That's great. But Kansas State's bringing back the more impactful pieces. And for a game at this magnitude, so early on, Farmageddon, in Dublin to start off the year, the public is all over Iowa State here, I think, just because they see the line and they see what Georgia Tech did in Dublin last year. They think it's going to happen again. They're going to try and catch out. A lot of the money is on Iowa State right now, so I'm going to take Kansas State minus the 3.
Where you at on this one, Kev?
Yeah, I'm actually on Kansas State as well, -3. I'm also thinking about taking the over, similar to what Don was saying about kind of the returning starters. The Kansas State has a really good rushing attack, and while Iowa State's main kind of defensive focus is their pass game, I think they had the number one pass defense in the Big 12 last year, whereas their rush defense was more near the bottom. And then kind of vice versa for Kansas State. They were like 7th or 8th in pass defense, and you bring in Rocco Beck back for Iowa State. So I think we could see a game where Iowa State has trouble stopping the run, and then Kansas State has trouble stopping the pass, and we get this game to be somewhat high scoring. But I do like Kansas State minus the 3. I think overall they're a better team, and to Don's point, I do think they have the better pieces as far as like impact players or guys that can make big plays on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right with you guys on that one. Kansas -3. Keeping my eye on Dylan Edwards. Stepping into DJ Giddens' shoes is a big job. I mean, that's a lot of production that left. But I agree with Don and you guys saying that Avery Johnson's taking that step forward. So if he's contributing more, he picks up more of the slack that doesn't fall on Dylan as much. Also, as far as impactful transfers, Kansas State addressed some O-line issues. So they had some transfers come in. So the trench battle is going to be big in this spot. Both these teams are familiar with each other, but I do go with Kansas State in this spot. So we're all on Kansas State -3. That's one of my locks for this Saturday. All right, hop into our next game. We have Fresno State against Kansas. Kansas is favored by 12.5. They're at home. They're playing back in their home stadium for the first time since 2023. So they've been playing Arrowhead for their home games last year. So it's great to be back. Are we going to get a healthy Jalen Daniels? That's going to be big there. My approach for this game, I'm looking at props. Maybe I'm looking at Jalen's rushing yards. I'm still deciding on that one, but I took this bet early in the season when the number opened. I got Fresno State at +14. It's dropped to 12.5. Looking at that game at 12.5, maybe my approach would be a little bit different. Kev, what do you think about this one?
I still actually like the number at 12.5 personally. I was lucky enough, like you, I caught it early, but I would still take it at 12.5. I think that Fresno State, they brought in, I can't think of his name now, but he won a couple of national championships in the FCS with North Dakota. They have Kurt Warner's kid, which is interesting.
Matt
EJ, baby.
So good to see what EJ can do. And the Jayhawks pass defense wasn't great last year. I mean, it should be better this year with some of the guys they picked up. But they weren't great last year. So if EJ Warner can kind of throw the ball around, keep this team in the game, I think they have a good shot. I don't think they're going to win, but I still like the 12.5. I see them maybe losing by 8 or 9.